Scruffy Audio Network.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, see that?
Yeah.
I'm not used to easing into it. I just, bam, just right into it. That's how we get
And
started.
then it's over.
Exactly. Okay, podcast is done. Now is when I typically apologize.
Yes, so true, yes.
Hey, welcome to Why Would You Go There?
Are we on? Are we live?
Yeah, we're live, right?
What the heck? Let's
yeah,
do
we're
it.
live.
Let's
Hey,
do it.
welcome to Why Would You Go There? Podcast about travel. I am Troy, and you are?
I'm Lee.
Yeah, you are. You're
Yeah, I
Lee,
am.
And it's been a little while since we've been here.
It has.
So
Not
we
long
are-
enough, probably.
Not long enough for our listeners, that's for sure. So we're
They
excited.
love us.
We've both been out. We've put some stuff on social media. We've been out. You've been all over the place. I went to
Yeah, I
beautiful
have.
Birmingham,
It's similar to where I went.
which we'll talk about later. Yeah, and where did you go? And we'll talk about these places later.
I
too.
went to Seoul, South Korea,
Oh yeah, that's an
Top-
episode in itself.
Taipei, Taiwan.
That's an episode.
Yes. Singapore.
That might be an episode too.
It is. For sure it is. It's a crazy futuristic city, by the way.
Oh, cool.
I felt like I was in the future, like 20 years. Anyway, and then went to the Maldives. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So
Which is
we've got
paradise.
We've got some episodes there, but
It's
as we get
similar to
started-
Birmingham, right?
they're
Those are similar.
very similar. As always, you have outdone me on your
Birmingham.
travel.
Alabama, not England, right?
Oh yeah, no, if it was Birmingham, UK, I'd be pretty happy about it.
Yeah.
So why don't you tell people where to reach us on social media since we're just getting this thing started?
Yeah, let's do it. So we've got on Twitter, we've got at Why Would You Go is our Twitter handle.
And we have a ton of Twitter followers because
do.
you dominate Twitter.
We do, yeah. And people are pretty active on Twitter. You know, I know Instagram has a reputation of not being as active and stuff like that, but they're pretty active on Twitter, so they'll respond.
The problem with Instagram I have found is I have gotten over 200 followers, but we only have about 162 followers because the Instagram formula is, hey, I'm going to be a jerk and follow somebody, and as soon as they follow me back, I'm going to unfollow them. I don't understand why that happens, but it does.
That's actually crazy because on Twitter people complain about it. You know, I don't have Instagram, but on Twitter people complain about Instagram all the time, and that's exactly what they
But we'll
say.
keep our 162 Instagram followers and still throw
Yeah,
some
we
pictures
will.
out there for them every now and then. Yeah.
And then we got Facebook too. Why would you go there?
Yeah, and those are all formats and social media platforms that you can use to contact us.
Yes.
If you'd like, you can retweet or tweet back to us. You can put messages on Instagram and so forth. Send us your
Questions,
pictures,
comments.
questions. And speaking of, we actually have a couple of questions. We're calling this. Why Would You Go There 2.0? I'm the only one calling it that, but when I say we, I mean Scruffy Audio Network, you, Ben, Paul, everybody.
Yeah.
But really, I'm the only one that's saying it.
Yeah, you are.
And what? Shut it. And what we're doing is asking folks now to be a little more interactive with us. So we've put a question out there last time, and the question was, hey, send us anything about Charleston, because that was our last podcast. So I have a couple questions here, and we're going to try to answer those. And let me get started.
Yeah.
Hey, this is Matt from Knoxville. I was just wondering if y'all think that Fort Sumter is worth going to when you're in Charleston.
Matt, that is a great question.
That is a great
and
question.
the way you can find your answer is listen to our last podcast.
Yeah, so true. So true.
We had a special guest, Wayne Williams, in
Yeah.
the studio, and he's been there about 10 times and
Yeah.
loves that place and spoke pretty highly of it. And he said, if you're only going there for a weekend, Fort Sumter is one of the 3 things that you have to do.
Yep.
So I definitely think that it is worth it. I still have not been, but my wife and I have already talked about maybe going in October. We don't want to go in the middle of the summer because I think it's going to be too hot.
Yeah.
But we're going to try I'm going to try to persuade her that we need to spend the money to go travel more,
Yes.
because you can never travel too much.
So true.
And we got one more question. This is from
Hey,
Braylon.
I didn't want to contribute on that
Oh,
question. at all.
did
That's
you?
Fine. No, forget it.
So what?
Yeah,
what-
no.
I thought that was
the place
it.
is awesome. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think you should definitely go to that. To me, you know, I like food. Outside of food, that's probably the biggest thing that I would say that you have to do your first time there is to see Fort Sumter. It's,
All right.
it's really cool. A lot of history there, so you gotta do it.
All right, so basically you said the same thing Wayne did, but thanks.
Yeah, but I sounded better.
Okay. And this is from Braylon.
Hey, this is Braidlin Jim, and I like to take my kids to Charleston, but every time I go, it just costs an arm and a leg at the buffets, and where is the best place to take your kids in Charleston? And I'll hang up and listen for your answer.
First of all, let me say I love Braidlin.
Yeah.
And great question. And Braidlin, for you, if you're listening to this episode, I will tell you that one place that you might try is Shoney's. It sounds like that's right up your alley, and you should
Ryan's
try
Steakhouse.
Ryan's. Yeah, either of those places. I'm sure. I have not been to Charleston, but I'm sure that they have those.
I hear McDonald's has a good buffet.
The KFC does have a good buffet.
That's true.
So that's a possibility. So before we get into this week's show, let's go ahead and tell folks what we're talking about, because we want them to send us questions just like that, actually maybe a little better than that, about their experiences and what their best experiences are. So what is today's show about?
So I'll tell you, this kind of prompted based off of a couple shows ago where we talked about the 5 places that we want to go that we'd never been. And I love that podcast just because we got to talk about the places that are interesting to us. So kind of along a similar line to that, it's places that we've been, but our 5 most favorite experiences at those places. You know, it could be a vast array of anything.
This may be... Go ahead.
I was going to say, but we want your feedback on that. You know, I've tweeted it out, and I've gotten a few responses on that, and I might go over a couple of those. But next week for sure we'll go over more of those. So we want to hear what your responses are, and what your 5 favorite things are.
And I'm a little bit heartbroken right now because this is the first time that we've ever done a podcast where we haven't introduced the topic together. So let's just say experiences together. Okay, what's today's show about?
Experiences!
Yes!
Wow, that was loud.
That was so exciting, too. Yeah. So today's show is about top 5 experiences.
Yes.
So do you want to start? You want to go first?
Yes, I sure can.
And we're going, now, we're not going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're going 5th to best.
Yes.
Right? Best experiences and all the travel that you've had in all your life. And for me, it's just adult life. I'm not counting Disney World when I was 4 or whatever.
So it can be anything. I mean, it can be anything.
Experience
it could be
had.
a meal. It could be a place that you went, or
so
a hike.
Before we even get into this, let me ask you this. Did you have a hard time narrowing it down to 5?
Oh my gosh, I'm still having a hard time.
So maybe we'll do
maybe
when we get done with our 5, we'll do runners up.
Let's have some honorable mentions.
Yeah, exactly. You know, I love honorable mention. Yeah. It means you're honored and you've been mentioned.
You so do. Yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and start with I guess probably the biggest one that most people have done that are going to be listening to this podcast is just going to the top of the Eiffel Tower. And that it seems maybe kind of lame, but I love seeing the views of the city.
It is definitely not lame.
Well, I mean, like as far as top
cliche,
5 experiences,
maybe
yes,
cliche.
very cliche.
Yeah.
And so that's got to be up there for me. So I loved seeing the views and
I'm going to take my pen out and scratch that off.
Oh man,
honorable mention.
Okay,
it was not in the top 5, but it was honorable mention. So, you want to talk about that at all anymore?
Not a whole lot. I think that just goes without being said. I mean,
part of the whole Eiffel Tower thing is the ride up the glass elevator is really kind of cool.
Yeah,
and then you have just these crazy iconic views at the top. So I can see that.
I will say, you can walk up the steps too if you want and walk down.
Yeah.
We didn't walk up.
We walked down.
Terrible. Yeah. We walked down, and that was, I think that was fun too. So it added a little bit of a different dimension because you can kind of see different levels.
Okay, number 5 for me is, and my wife actually reminded me of this a few weeks ago, and then when I told her about this show coming up, she reminded me of it, is The Cove in Atlantis. Have you ever stayed at the Cove?
No, I've never been to the Bahamas.
That is, if you go to the website, they call it a luxury Bahamas resort. So it's on Paradise Island. You've seen Atlantis. Michael Jackson when it first came out, he had that whole top section. This is not the picturesque one that you see, the hotel. This is the even more upscale hotel that's kind of off to the side. They have it's the only place on the island where they have an adults-only pool and spa. So that's kind of cool because anytime it's adults only. I love
Yes.
I love my time with my kids and grandkids. I also love my time without them.
Yes.
So that was kind of cool. And
Is it all inclusive? I'm sure you love that
it was
too.
not all inclusive. No, it was all expensive.
Yeah.
Take your wallet.
Bring your
as
wallet.
friends say.
Yes.
And I can tell you, give you an idea how expensive it was. We went in February, and we saw Sean Payton there with his
Wow.
family, the New Orleans
I love
Saints
the
coach.
New Orleans Saints, don't you?
Oh gosh, shut up! And we saw Dave Wannstedt there.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
So that was back. It was a few years ago when he was coaching Pitt.
Yeah.
So we
Yeah.
saw both of those.
He was the old Miami Dolphins coach too, right? For
Yep,
football.
he was a Bears coach, Dolphins coach.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
And then Sean Payton, obviously, New Orleans Saints. So what about? But hey, it's a wonderful place. Take your wallet.
Yeah.
And it was just the experience was incredible. What about you?
Okay, so number 4 is going to be swimming with stingrays in the Cayman Islands.
That's pretty recent.
Yeah, that was last year.
Yeah,
that was
okay.
about a year ago from now. And man, that was just so fun. I mean, it's just such a different experience. But it's when I say swimming, I mean the water's probably 4 feet deep.
Yeah.
So I'm not actually swimming. But man, it was awesome. And you can touch them, and just hope you don't get stung and killed. But but no, really, I mean, they're pretty tamed, and you could even feed them.
Yeah.
They have your tour guides will have stuff that you can feed them. So it was so fun. I mean, and my wife was terrified of it, but after a couple minutes, she finally opened up to it a little bit and was like, "Wow, this is actually really."
So did
fun.
you talk her into that, or was she?
I
like,
definitely
okay?
did, and she liked the idea of it, and she was okay. But then when we got there, I think it kind of got a little bit scarier. And then when they're swimming around, because they'll brush up against you and they'll touch you a bunch, and
if you just go to the aquarium, you can reach out and touch some of them. You know what I mean? Swim with them, but that's how they're almost kind of docile.
Yeah. But that was so fun, and they're very gentle. I mean, they like the attention, I guess, and probably they're more for their food that we feed them too. But it was fun. That was awesome.
So number 4 for me is you talked about it could be a meal. It is definitely a meal, and the meal was an experience. It is Sue and Jew restaurant in Rome.
Oh,
so I went and looked it up on TripAdvisor. It is a tiny little restaurant. I mean, there were 2 tables. It was on Via Tacito.
Oh yeah.
In Rome, which is kind of about 3 blocks north of the San Angelo Castle. You know where that is in the northern part of Rome.
Yes.
And it was in a tiny little, just a building in the middle of the street, city street, and the building had enough room upstairs for the table that we sat at, which was for 2, and a table of 4, and that was it.
Wow.
And then downstairs there were about 3 or 4 tables in the kitchen. Just a tiny little restaurant, but the meal was great. Our waiter didn't speak. You've probably heard on my Rome episode, I probably ranted about this because it was just so
If you
incredible.
haven't, then go back and listen
go back and
to
listen to Rome. But the waiter barely spoke any English. We speak no Italian. So it was just an
Aren't you going to say no English?
we speak very little. We speak Tennessee English, so it's difficult. But the experience was great. Part of the experience was that it was our first time in Rome. Well, we've only been to Rome once, but it was our first night in Rome. So we had come in, spent the day walking around, saw the Vatican, slept, took an hour or so nap, and then got dressed and went out for this great meal. And we ordered a liter of table wine. So at the end of the liter of wine, we're really feeling good. But the food was great. The experience was incredible. And I put that, out of all the experiences I had, that experience just with my wife sitting there enjoying that meal and in Rome, and we had a little table we could look out on the city, and it was just incredible.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. I'm going to have to go back there next time. Hopefully.
Hopefully soon.
Yeah. Okay, so that was your number 4. So now we're down to number 3.
Yeah, we are.
All right, so I kind of flip-flop 2 and 3, but I'm going to go with hiking the Great Wall or walking the Great Wall of China.
Oh, man, I cannot. I'm trying so hard to get my wife to agree to that. And as soon as we get enough points to fly first class.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's what she wants to do if we're going to China. Yeah, we
it's
are
a long
going
flight.
to China. So anyway, tell me about that,
Oh,
because
man.
I'm watering at the mouth right now.
You know, I felt like I got gypped a little bit because we did it as a tour and we only had like an hour or hour and a half or 2 hours, something like that. And they told me, they're like, oh, you know, you're probably really going to have time to just go to the top of this peak, and then it's going to be almost time to, you know, when you come back down to leave. And I'm like, I'm only here once. I'm not just going to go to this one peak. I'm going to come back down and go to the other side. So I got to see kind of two different vantage points of it, hiked all the way up it. And
So did you leave the tour?
yeah, but I mean, it was like, hey, meet back down here in whatever it was, an hour, hour and a half. So I didn't technically leave the tour, but, you know, they basically said you could either go left from the bottom of where the entry was or to the right. And I went left, and then I came back and went right just because I wanted to get the different.
And did they wait on you, or
I didn't. I
spent just an hour and a half?
Yeah, I mean, I was kind of moving it pretty quick.
So what you're saying is, if you want to enjoy it, you need to get a tour that's going to give you multiple hours.
I think so. I mean, I know you have a little bit more of a short attention span. I say that. I don't know if that's nice or not, but it's about
For
as
me?
nice. Yeah,
I don't care.
So, you know, a lot of people, that's probably all they need is an hour.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wanted to spend hours. Yeah, so I would like to go back and spend a few hours.
It's not that I have a short attention span. It's just that I want to look at new things very quickly.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's exactly what the definition is. Yeah.
But man, it's just such a great place. I mean, there's so much history there, and you know, just the fact that it's been there for so long, and it offered such great views of the, you know, the country part of China. You know, whereas we'd been in the big cities.
Is it really country both sides?
Yeah.
It's
I mean, it's just a lot of wide open areas, but you can go a bunch of different places.
No place where the wall actually goes through Beijing or through the city part?
You know, I don't know. I'm sure that there's definitely parts
but
that
not,
go through cities.
Not that you saw.
Yes.
So you took a bus basically out to wherever this main part of the wall is.
Yep.
And was it just covered with tourists?
There were quite a bit of tourists, and I think they took us there because it had a Beijing Olympics sign that said 2008, I guess is what it was. It had a Beijing sign. So I think they took us there just as a kind of reminder, hey, the Olympics were here in 2008, and that was in 2000, I guess, 9 or 10.
Yeah.
So it was probably a hot spot at that point where they typically take a lot of tourists. But you can go other places for sure, and you know, probably less populated and less touristy.
All right.
But I still loved it, even though there was a lot of tourists.
Yeah, that's high on my list.
Yeah, you got to do it.
Yep, I'm very sure we will. So number 3 for me, if you listen to podcasts just a few podcasts ago, you would hear that we talked about Cuba for one. And Cuba. Number 3 for me, Cuba. Were you going to say that? Cuba.
Yeah.
Is the Tropicana Cabaret in Havana. Actually, it's a little bit outside of Havana. But on their website, it says it's a lush tropical 6-acre estate.
Oh, wow.
It was really the best single show that I've ever seen, and we've seen a ton of shows. I mean, I watched shows on Broadway. We've seen Cirque du Soleil shows in Vegas where they're permanently fixed, and they have great Cirque du Soleil shows. So, but the single best experience that I've ever had at a show was this Tropicana Cabaret. It's massive outdoor amphitheater, basically, and they just have it. It's kind of like the old Vegas showgirl shows. They have all this random dress, giant headdress. They're scantily clad, both the ladies and the guys, and they have these costumes, and they probably have a dozen costume changes throughout, and there's between 60 and 75, maybe it could even be 100 people total in the show. Wow. So they have some singers. You're not going to understand a word unless you speak Spanish, because it's all in Spanish. But the show itself was incredible. I went on TripAdvisor just to see, and it was like the number 3 thing to do in Havana.
Oh, yeah.
And surprisingly, though, it only had like a 4.0 rating. And I read every review that I could that was poor about why, and it was all price. It's because people expected, because it's a developing country, they're not going to pay anything to get in there.
Yeah.
And they were upset about the fact that it cost $100 or $85 or whatever to see this show. Well worth the $100 that it cost.
Okay.
So don't be fooled if you go on TripAdvisor, which we always love to plug. Don't be fooled by that 4.0 rating. The show's great. Every complaint that I saw, and I probably read 5 or 6 one-star complaints, and they were all, this is too expensive. Well, you didn't have to go. So that's my number 3.
Oh man, yeah, that just makes me want to go to Cuba even more. Plus, you didn't even mention the rum, did you?
Oh yeah, so everybody that goes in gets a bottle of rum for 4 people to share, and it's a pretty sizable bottle.
Can you smoke a Cuban cigar too?
And they give every guy a cigar and every woman a rose, and don't ask for the other. Because gender roles are very important, and tradition is very important. So they're not going to. Girls can smoke cigars in Cuba. There's no issue there. Yeah. But because this thing started in 1939, guys smoked cigars and girls didn't. Yeah. At least that's the way that the gender role stereotypes were. So they're going to give a guy a cigar, and they're going to give a girl a rose, and they are not going to switch.
Wow.
Yeah. And they warned us about that. They said, don't even ask, because they're going to frown upon that.
Interesting. Okay. Well, yeah, that adds a different element to it.
It was
too.
awesome too.
The rum and the cigar. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that, and they give you everybody gets a soda, so you can mix it with the rum if you want to. It was really wonderful because we had 6 of us at a table for 8, and 2 other ladies that were there that were quite a bit older. And as the second we sat down, one of the ladies said, I hope none of you guys are going to like those cigars, which just really made me want to like that thing.
She probably gave the 1-star rating.
Oh yeah, she may.
Somebody's smoking here.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And this place is known for cigars.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's my number 3.
Awesome. Okay. Yeah. So we flip-flop there. You want to do my number 3, I want to do your number 3. All right. So my number 2 now is an African safari, as a whole. And then I'll even point out specifically just seeing a male lion in the wild. I mean, I don't know what it is about a male lion. I mean, they're just so majestic. I mean, I don't know. But seeing the long mane, and then, you can see them move, and you can see all their, their muscles and everything just as they walk. I mean, and a lot of time I lose track and forget about how big they are. But, man, they're just monster animals, and they're the king of the jungle. I mean, they are awesome to see. So the safari as a whole is great just because you can see so many different animals. And, again, that was one of my favorite trips I've ever done. Yeah,
that's something that I really like to do. I don't know that it's as high on my list as it probably would be if I had done it, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things that, that you think about, okay, I could see how I would really want to do that, but there's so many other things. But then once you do it, just kind of like the Tropicana, I would have never had that high on my list at all.
Yeah.
And then after I've done it, I'm like, holy moly, everybody has to do that.
Yeah.
So,
there's just something about seeing those animals in the wild, too. And, we saw a lion eating a zebra, literally. I mean, and that it sounds kind of grotesque, I guess, but you appreciate it while you're there because you're like, man, this is nature at its finest.
Yeah.
I mean, this is what it is, and it was just so cool to see.
You're just so excited to see some animal destroying another.
Yeah, I love death, but I mean, it's just interesting because that's
what's black and white and red all over? A lion eating a zebra.
Oh gosh, way to turn my number 2, my majestic lion, into a horror movie. But yeah, no, it's great. And again, not just the lion, but I pointed out the lion specifically, just seeing those. But cheetahs and zebras.
How close were you able to get?
You could get really close. I mean,
close enough to get eaten.
Yeah, it's scary. I mean, I guess because they have so many things drive up to, like so many vehicles drive up to them because you're in a vehicle.
Yeah.
It just seems like it's not a good idea. I mean, because they could just pounce through those things and take you out.
Surely somebody has a rifle.
They do, but there's no. I mean, if the lion reacts, there's no chance that there's going to be any reaction whatsoever.
He might get them while they're eating the first person.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. But you literally, we were probably 8 to 10 feet away. I mean,
my gosh!
That's what I'm saying. Like, it's
crazy
close, and there's no way if they wanted to make a quick reaction.
Oh yeah, I was thinking like 30 yards away.
Yeah, no, and if they get closer to you, so you park 10, 15 feet away, whatever it is, if they move close to you, you're not moving. I mean, you sit there and they can literally walk 2 feet from your vehicle.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing for anything else, cheetah and all the other different animals, the antelopes and gazelles and whatever, wildebeest, that kind of stuff. So it's just crazy. So I think that should be on everybody's bucket list. I think that's one of those things that people always want to do, like you said. But I guess the travel, and it's like, well, okay, I could do that, or I could go to, somewhere in Europe that I haven't been yet, or something like
that's
that.
What happens
it always
with us.
seems more appealing.
Yeah,
and
I agree with that.
It's expensive, but it's worth it. I'll do another one or two at some point in my life, just because it was one of the best experiences I've ever had.
Very cool.
That was my number 2. What about you?
My number 2 is Ephesus. So
okay,
that may be a shock. So Ephesus is the.
I see how you're just trying to put these places that I haven't been to. You're just
did
rubbing
not,
them in my face.
I can say the same about you. Not rubbing it in the face, but so Ephesus is one of the only biblical cities that is pretty much intact, because sometime about 1,000 years ago, maybe 1,500 years ago, the waterline receded. So Ephesus was a port city, and it just moved back maybe a couple of miles. So Kushadasi, everybody just followed the water, and they just basically left the city and built the port of Kushadasi, which it's about, I don't know how many miles it is, but it's about maybe a 45-minute drive. You can see it, but it's way away.
Okay, that's further than I thought. I guess.
It's probably further than I just led you to believe. But so you can see the port, but it's a long ways away. Like I said, it's about a 45-minute bumpy ride. So they have every building, all the stone structure, of course, all the wood has rotted there, but the stone structures are all there. The roads are there. The toilets are there. All of that kind of stuff. So the bathhouses and everything. So that was really interesting to see and to just walk through. One of my favorite things was standing in the amphitheater where Paul preached to the Ephesians.
That's really cool.
So it's still right there, and we have pictures, and obviously we will post maybe 1 or 2 pictures of each one of these experiences that we're talking about, and just being able to stand right there where Paul was, and the tour guide. We had, if you have a great tour guide, that helps. We did happen to have a great tour guide, and he said, okay. It pointed way away, and you could see off in the distance, maybe a good 20, 30-minute walk away, just one structure by itself. And he said, okay, that's the jail. And they kept it away from the city for some reason. And he said, Paul was preaching right here, and then he was in that jail that you see over there. So that was really just kind of fascinating. And it's the only time, I think, that Rome is wonderful. The ruins are in the middle, but the city's grown up around it.
Yeah.
There's nothing around Ephesus but wilderness. So you get there, and cool. It's nothing but tour buses unloading people, and you just walk the entire city. It's very cool.
I like how you went from the Tropicana with all the dancers and scantily clad clothing and the rum and the cigars to the Bible.
I'm an enigma. I'm all over the spectrum. I am all over the spectrum. I'm equal opportunity here.
Yeah.
Anyway, so what's your number 1?
All right, number 1. You probably don't have any idea, do you? You don't want to guess, right?
Oh, sure.
It'd probably be difficult, but
let me guess. Your number 1 thing is staying at the Cosmopolitan in Vegas. No, it would be Mandalay Bay. Mandalay Bay in Vegas.
No.
The lazy river.
Yeah, no, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But no, that's just fun. No, zip lining in Costa Rica.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. It was that cool for you?
You don't even seem impressed at all.
No. Well, the reason I'm not super impressed is because I don't know how much it would cost me to have them clean the feces off the zip line when I got done doing it, because there's no way I could hold it in. I would be peeing and pooping all over myself because I would be so scared.
Wow. Thank you for turning my number one experience into a number two experience. Gosh. Yeah.
Oh, that's a great line.
Yeah.
No, I'm not super scared of heights as long as those heights are in an airplane or on the top of a building, not close to the edge.
Caged in. Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
But if I don't feel like I can, I wouldn't feel like I had any control there, and I would be scared to death.
So what's great about these zip lines is they just go in so many different, lengths and heights. So you start off, with kind of baby ones to kind of build your courage up. And, there's some that are maybe 8 feet off the ground, 10 feet off the ground, whatever, and they're probably 30 feet long or whatever. So it's like, oh, okay, this is pretty cool. This is fun. And they just keep getting longer and longer and longer, at least the one that we did. And it got to a point, where you're literally going through the jungle, the rainforest at probably 2/3 of the way through. There's like 20 different zip lines that you get on, and they're probably a couple 100 yards long and 100 feet high. So that's when you start getting a little bit scared, and then it's like
a little bit.
Yeah. So that's when they get you to the last one, and it's like the climax.
It is.
But it literally was 5,000 feet long, so it's a mile long, right? Which is crazy to think a zip line is a mile long. And it's like 2,000 something feet high. So it's a half a mile
so
in the air.
Let me ask you this. How long did that climax last?
It was literally, it literally was, I don't know if I had to try to remember to guess. It was probably 40 to 60 seconds. I mean, you were literally going.
Right. That's 40 to 60 seconds.
You're going across the,
start to finish?
Yeah,
that's me.
Oh my gosh. What's wrong with you?
There's a lot wrong with me.
Yes. Again, we just talked about the Bible with your number two. Good job. But yeah, so it's like a mile long and it's like a half a mile high. I mean, you're over everything. You can see so far. It's
that
just
sounds
so incredible.
Wonderful and scary to me.
It is.
That's why.
So I have a little fear of heights for sure. I'm one of those people that if I look over an edge or something, I'll start to get kind of weak in the chest and the stomach and kind of feel lighthearted.
In the bowels? That's what happens to me.
Yeah. Yeah. But I also enjoy the adventure of it, and I guess what word am I looking for? I don't know that. When I'm scared, it's like, okay, I want to overcome this. I want to do this just to show that I can do it. It's kind of like jumping out of an airplane. I mean, that's kind of crazy, but I kind of want to do it just to do it.
Oh,
that doesn't mean I'm not going to be.
There's not any desire.
I'm going to be freaking out.
No.
Same thing with those zip lines. I mean, they're
the only parachuting I want to do is on the playground with those kids where they get the old parachute and bounce balls in it like when you're a kid in gym. That's all I want to do. Yeah, no, I'm not doing anything to do with the parachute.
If you go to Costa Rica, you have to do those. And
they also they have that in Haiti also. I've seen it on a couple cruise lines. Like Royal Caribbean Cruise Line has something you can do. So
they have a lot of those in like the Central American countries too, and probably some of those beach places.
Yeah, that seems like something you would want to do. Get on this zip line that's 5,000 feet long and 2,000 feet up in a country that really can't even keep their citizens in it.
Yeah.
Within the boundaries.
I mean, you kind of worry a little bit that everything's kind of strapped in there.
Yeah.
But yeah. So if you're ever in one of those countries, and I don't mean just like one little zip line, they're probably cool too. When we did the Royal Caribbean at the Haiti port, it had one zip line. It was really long. No, but it looked really fun. But I mean, I want to do the ones that go, there's like 15, 20 different zip lines, and it kind of incrementally
more chances to get killed.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, yeah.
They're probably fairly safe. It seems like fairly safe. I don't know. I don't hear about people falling from them that often, but that's still pretty scary for me.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. So my number one is actually parachuting. I'm kidding. It's not. It will never be. My number one is actually something that I'm going to do on the ground, which is walking around Rome.
Oh, yeah.
And especially like the Ponte or the Trevi districts, those areas that are kind of right in the fold of the river there. If you're walking around that area, and I've talked about this before, anytime I hear somebody is going to Rome, I am just a big advocate for, take a day.
Yeah.
Take a day and walk around, because unlike our cities here, which we have some great cities, New York, Boston, and so forth, unlike those places, everything's super old. And they're all just kind of put together in a hodgepodge. So you are walking down what might really look to you like an alley, and then all of a sudden it busts out into this big old plaza that's got a fountain in it, and there's these beautiful buildings and all that kind of stuff. So if you walk around those two northern districts, you can see the Campo de' Fiori, which is that kind of the marketplace. You can go to the Pantheon, you can go to Trevi Fountain, you can go to the Spanish Steps. All of those are within a nice walk of each other, and the walk from one to the next, as long as it's a leisurely walk and you're not just kind of busting it trying to get there, is just intoxicating. Yeah, I really have. It's my favorite thing that I've ever done.
And I love Rome, so it's my favorite city, and I can totally attest to that, and I can understand why that would be at the top of anybody's list. And it's definitely one of my favorite things to do for sure, is just kind of walk around, just because it's just so beautiful. And again, you can just pass history as you're walking around, like that. I mean, no big deal, but it is a big deal.
Yeah,
so it's kind of cool.
So true. Well, that's our top 5 each. That was I think it was kind of interesting. I hope other folks think it's an interesting podcast. We would again like to hear from you, like we said at the start of the show. What are your top experiences? You can tweet to us at
Why Would You Go?
Yep. You can send us messages on Instagram or Facebook. You can record messages and send it to us on either of those. Why would you go there? You can email us at we don't have an email, do we? You have to go through Facebook, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Facebook message is probably the best way to get to us, or Twitter. Twitter is really, that's kind of where we're really focusing right now, because you're so good at it.
Thank you.
You're so good at social
media.
We'd
love to hear you. And I kind of tweeted this question out, to my followers, just to bring it up and just to see if I could get any responses. So just like 30, 45 minutes ago, and I got a few responses, so I'm going to kind of talk about a couple of those, and then we'll keep hearing them, and we'll go over a few more next time we do a podcast. But I wanted to tell you my wife's, some of hers, Miriam at Travels with Miri, if you're on Instagram and on Twitter. Hers were the turtle farm in the Grand Cayman Islands. She mentioned the African safari also. One of your favorite things that you didn't listen to me, but then a British guy told you to do it, was go to the top of Sacré-Cœur and kind of watch the sunset. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's a great experience.
And then going to the Red Square in Moscow was hers, and then her number one was doing a helicopter tour where we landed on a glacier in Alaska.
Oh yeah, I've seen pictures of that.
You
guys did that about a year and a half ago or so? Yeah.
It was really close to making it to my top 5. I mean, it probably should have.
So that's kind of in your runners-up.
Yes. Yeah. One of my other runners-up, which, I love planes, is Maho Beach, just seeing in St. Martin, seeing the planes fly over.
That's a great experience. Yeah, I've had that experience.
Fun.
Yeah, that is kind of cool. The hurricane, I think, messed that up. I don't know that you can do that anymore.
Yeah, I don't know either.
But before the hurricane hit, that last hurricane, we had done that. I'd done that a couple times. That was really kind of neat.
Yeah.
A couple of my runners-up are the Freedom Trail. I love Boston.
Yes.
I could definitely put Daily Catch. Is that the name of the seafood restaurant? That time that the 4 of us had lunch there. That was really a great experience. Craps in Vegas. This recent trip that we went on.
Winning.
Because when you're winning, we were in a great casino in Vegas, and then just winning money, and just kept winning, and so that was a great experience. So all those.
What about
cruises,
the Golden Steer we just talked about?
That was a great experience too. That's you'll notice that none of my top 5 were anything that without my wife, because she is obviously my favorite person. But my next few favorite people are in some of my runners up.
Okay. Yeah. That makes the experience though, right?
Yeah.
When you're with your wife or your spouse or in
for
friends,
sure.
whatever. That always helps.
Yeah.
But yeah, those are all great things. Let me talk about a couple that I got some feedback on.
Okay,
I want to
good.
give them a shout out.
Yeah.
So Mel at your travel handbook.
This is on Twitter.
Yes. Yep. They tweeted back. Let's see.
Oh man, this is riveting.
At your travel handbook, so I'm going to go 5-1, taking off on the very first flight. That is a great one. I love that one, Mel. So just your very first flight. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
The 3 and 4 are kind of similar. The first sight of the Sydney Harbor Bridge and the Golden Gate Bridge.
Okay.
So that's
Haven't
really
seen
cool
either
too.
one of those.
Watching the sunrise at the Grand Canyon. So that's a great one also.
Sounds pretty good.
I saw it set. I didn't see it rise. Too lazy to wake up that early, I guess. But no, those are great ones. And then sitting at the La Grande Arche de la Fence on a sunny day with a light breeze. That's Mel's favorite.
Very good. Very nice. Thanks, Mel. What else?
And then I'll save a couple of these for next time.
All right, good.
But John with Carpe Diem Air, he's hiking, driving, and taking a cable car up Mount Etna. And then driving the ring road of Iceland, which we just talked about recently.
Right, we sure did.
With that
episode.
Iceland podcast. So, John, I can attest to that one. It's pretty awesome. And then the sunset at OIA in Santorini. I don't know what that is.
Neither do I.
But you always see the pictures of Santorini, so it's got to be great too. I think he tweeted a picture of that, so you can check John out there, and again at Carpe Diem Air. And then
cool.
tulip fields of Holland in spring.
That is one of those things that I think I'd like to see.
And then the Gaudi Trail in Barcelona, which we talked about too on our Spain podcast.
Yep.
So those are some great ones. So John and Mel, thanks for the feedback there, and we got some more, and we'll probably read a few of those next
guys,
week.
Send us some stuff. Send us your top 5. Send us a recorded message if you'd like. I hope you do better than Braylon did earlier in this podcast. But other than that, I think it went pretty well. So I think we're probably done.
I think so.
Is there anything you want to give final thoughts?
No, just
the whole thing was final thoughts, wasn't it?
What's great is the final thoughts. You talk about yours. I read some of the lists from some of these people that have sent me some stuff, and it just makes me realize there's so much more out there, and there's so much more to do, and
there's a ton of stuff.
Everything. What's weird is I didn't have any food places on there, and I love food.
You do. I'm kind of shocked about that. Yeah.
So. It just means I'll have to keep on going.
So maybe we'll do a podcast with food experiences at some point. Yeah. It sounds great. All
excited.
Right. Well, why don't you end with our motto? Not with our podcast, like I said last time. Don't end with our podcast. End with our motto.
You used to say, "Why don't we end you with?"
Yeah. Why don't we end you? I'm asking that. End you.
Yeah.
Can we end you?
It's better to go someplace that you hate than to not go anywhere at all.
Yes. So
we should start saying that together.
Oh, yeah, let's do it right now.
All right.
Hey, it's better to go someplace you hate than to not go any place at all. Oh, man. That was really good. Even though the words weren't exactly right, we both say it different.
We'll have to write it down.
Or not. Or why? It just kills the spontaneity.
That's
and
true.
I love spontaneity.
Yes.
Yeah, so that was pretty wonderful. All right, so we're out.
Fun stuff, yeah. Send us some feedback.
Okay, so how was that? Was
it
okay
fun
for you?
Yeah, I enjoyed.
Too many sex
talking
jokes?
about that. I would say yes, but that's basically your normal.
Man, I didn't make a single mom joke.
You didn't.
I'm so disappointed.
Yeah, I think you made up for it with the sex joke. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
As long as people know that.
But it's so how many would I would say probably one is too many. So what would you say? Is like 5 too many for you?
Too many
Mom or sex jokes?
Oh, I don't know that there's. It's
Too
like
many.
sex. Is there ever too much?
Yeah. For some people.
Yeah, no, there's never too much.
Good stuff.
All right, good deal.
We're out.